When I think about letter grades and what goes in the mix for letter grades and what are we including, I think of Jim Popham and his work in The Truth About Testing and other things that he has written. And he talks about what is true achievement. And Marzano also talks about the non-achievement factors that sometimes get roped into those letter grades. And I do remember early in my career, we were always trying to encourage students to hand in their work on time. And at one point, we were giving +3 for handing it in early, -3 for handing in late, and 0 for handing it in on time. And you know, when you look at that, we were not looking at the learning at all. We were looking at those behaviors that were not part of achievement. And that's the difference, is to separate that out. When we look at kids coming to class late, or they hand in things late and sometimes marks are deducted, that's not appropriate. Because what are we then? We're looking at handing in lateness, and that's not a learning outcome. I don't see anything that where it says hand work in on time or has done the homework. Homework is also not in the learning outcomes. You know, we just cannot control kids' behavior with marks. We cannot keep looking at those non-achievement factors and thinking, oh, this is how I'm going to control what they do in my class. Because when there's no outcome, you cannot report on it. So that is the key for me, is always keeping clear what is achievement and what is behavior. And we know that behavior is highly important, effort is highly important, and how we have to work with our students to make sure we get their best efforts. In some curricula, in drama for example, in science, in the oral language part of the New English Language Arts curriculum, there's a lot of emphasis on appropriate language, interpersonal relationships, working as a team, which are in fact classroom behaviors, for instance in science, a safe and responsible attitude, and those are things that we need to report out on. However, we're not talking about handing in things late, coming to class late and being penalized for those ideas. I guess the other thing too is that when a student is not in class and he gets or she gets a 0, that 0 does not represent any learning. It's really representing not in classness, and there is no outcome for that. That needs to be reported on separately and needs to be acted on. I know for some students, they will not be intimidated by saying that some marks are going to be withheld from them if they don't do this, or if they don't hand things in on time, or if they don't do this assignment, for example. And I think we no longer can use marks as that currency of classroom management. We just can't do that anymore. If we do, we lose our students. And all we have is our relationship with them and the trust that we build around their learning. And so they trust us that we will report on their learning and not on their behavior.